Hello, everyone. Ebba here,
Hello.
Gary here. We are here to give you all a huge update on our life right now, and it is crap. It really is. We have been living through what can only be described as hell for the last, 3 weeks? 3 weeks. I don't know.
Well, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Mainly because
2 weeks
when
mainly.
we started to head west again.
Yeah. And we've run into several problems. I'm going to let Gary take you through some of them. I'll start with the automatic stop. Now, that stopped working a long time before we left the flea market. And we didn't get it fixed because of the snow and the cold and etc. Gary finally did end up getting it fixed, and it became a sort of a top priority for us. And the reason is Gary has to do everything. I don't get to do very much of anything. And even if I start doing something, I usually end up having to stop just because my breathing and the way I am. So he has to do everything. And when the step was broken, he was trying to climb in and out without the bottom 2 steps. And that's a long way.
Especially for an 81-year-old when the step is, his step was that high that I had to get in. So I was getting older and older, it seemed like, by the day. Every time I had to get in and out, and Bree, of course, needs to get in and out.
Yeah, several times
a day. So,
and then he was doing the flea market, like he was going into the flea market and having to come out for lunch and having to come out and check on me. And it was just getting a lot of pain for him, and he's still suffering from the effects of that. His knees are really, really bothering him because he's supposed to have knee replacements done, and whether he's going to be able to or not will depend on how his health is by the time we get back and they look at him. Anyway, and his hips have started bothering him also because of it. So it's a sort of a snowball effect when it starts. So we felt that getting the step fixed, even though it wasn't possibly the worst thing we had going on, it was definitely a priority for us, and we made it number 1 priority. We thought it was going to be a lot cheaper than it ended up being. It started off being $390-something. But then once they put in the new gear system, it was a gear link system of some sort. Once they put that in, then they discovered there was something else wrong, and it needed another thing. And so we ended up paying another $400 and almost, I don't even know. I know that we owe somewhere around $425 at the end of the month. They were very, very kind in getting us the step fixed for us, and then saying you can pay this amount at the end of the month, at the end of March, when we get our next check. It does mean that we're going to be short of money. Everything means we're going to be short of money. But
that was our whole trip out here.
That was our whole
short of money.
Short of money. And it's going to be our trip back unless we can get some help from you people. And we'll talk about that later. So Gary's going to take over now, and he's going to talk about the other things that we have going on, starting with the generator.
Well, when we were on the electrical plug-in, everything worked good. We were able to cook, we were able to have heat, and everything was working fine. When we went mobile again, what happened was I went to turn the generator on and nothing. Didn't even try and start or anything. Well, it turned over, but it didn't start. So I checked it out and no gas. So I'm checking, and must be the fuel pump, because it had worked in the fall. Well, there was one fuse in there, only one, and one of the legs on the fuse. There's two legs on the fuse, while one was missing. Now, I kind of thought that could be a good indication that's the problem why the fuel pump doesn't work. So I replaced the fuse, and it ran like a charm.
Yeah.
The next stage was no electricity. It wouldn't switch the box inside.
Yeah.
And there's a $400 box inside that switches from the regular plug-in to the generator plug-in. And since we have two air conditioners up there, it's the generator produces power to the back air conditioner, and the other side of the generator goes to the front air conditioner and the coach. Well, we're still doing some checking on that to make sure that I'm getting electricity out of the generator. That's today's project. I got 2 days to do it. It's fairly warm out, and
it's pouring rain though.
Yeah, little rain comes in everyone's life.
Yeah,
what can I
we
say?
seem to have gotten buckets of it lately.
Anyway, that's the major thing. So, in the meantime, we had been running the furnace on the coach batteries. The motorhome has coach batteries that run all the electricity in the motorhome.
Yeah.
Well, all of a sudden our carbon monoxide alarm went off and said, well, we got carbon monoxide. Well, I could smell it, so we had to turn the furnace off. The furnace wasn't burning properly because the coach batteries didn't have enough power in them to run the fan at the rate it should. So now we've got a problem with the furnace. So now, once we get electricity, we're on the generator, we're still not going to be able to run the furnace until we get it taken apart. I'm not a propane specialist, and I'm going to let somebody that knows something about it take it apart, because I don't want the thing going boom.
And that's another several $100s, no doubt.
Oh, yes.
And then the other thing we have now is, and without the furnace, without the electricity, we don't have heat, but we also don't have cooking or food. Now the fridge we got a little nervous with that because the fridge stopped having electrical lights on it. And Gary had a look around.
It runs on propane.
It runs on propane,
but there's still electrical connections in it, and so now we've got our batteries charged.
Yeah, so we got our batteries charged because there was some people that were very generous in letting us park beside their house, complete strangers, park beside their house and plug into the outside of their house for overnight. So we were able to get our coach batteries, which are the motorhome batteries, completely charged back up. But we didn't have lights on the fridge, even though we had done that. Even though we were plugged in, we didn't have lights on the fridge. So the next day, when we came back to where we are, Gary had a look, and he went in and he bought some fuses and changed out a fuse, and that was our problem. So the fridge is fixed, thank goodness, because we have a freezer with food in it and we don't really want to lose it. And it's very difficult for us to cook right now because we can't use any of our tiny appliances that we have, so we can't really cook with that. We did buy a butane stove, and when we have it on, and we're using it mostly for heating, we can cook some things while we have the butane stove on. So we do have the ability to do that. We have to be careful because our pans are the kind that we talked about before, with the blue lining on the inside, and we have to be careful that we don't put it on too high so that our pans don't get right, because that's the last thing we need. We do have a stainless steel frying pan that we can use, which would probably be safer. Anyway, so that's the cooking and the food, and we also can't have lights on at night, so we sit here in the dark till we get tired of sitting in the dark.
Then
we go to bed.
Yeah, all three of us go to bed.
Three of us go
the
to bed.
dog goes in the bed also and gets in between us.
And we put her actually the last few nights because it's been cold. She's been shivering on top of the bed even with her blanket on her. So we've just tucked her under the covers with us, and we figure, we can wash sheets, but we need the dog healthy. We need to be healthy, and she actually helps a lot to keep us warm at night.
Oh, yes.
So she generates a lot of heat on that little body of hers, and we're able to, all three of us then, sleep without freezing.
She's like a hot water bottle.
Yeah, only better because she doesn't get
and
cold.
She's bigger.
She's bigger and she doesn't get cold. She doesn't cool off. Okay, so now the water pump.
Okay, the water pump froze up since we've got no heat.
Yeah.
Which is kind of serious because we've got no water in the system.
When we were plugged in, we had a heater, like a little electric heater, that was underneath where the water system is, and we would put it on, and it was keeping everything thawed. So we didn't have problems. But of course, we're not plugged in, and now we don't have the generator producing electricity. Sorry.
So that's basically where we're sitting. No heat, no electricity, no water. We have to go and purchase bottles of water to even flush the toilet.
Yeah.
So that's where we're sitting right now.
Oh, no, we got more, honey. We got more. Our propane, thank goodness, is working. It's costing us, but it's working. And since the weather has warmed up, because it's not minus 30 anymore, thank goodness, because we were living in minus 30, and I was really happy that we were plugged in at the time, because we would have froze to death. I mean, it's just that simple. There's no way that we could stay under the blankets and stay warm at that temperature. So we haven't seen that temperature since we've come away from the flea market. Thank goodness. I mean, it's one of the things that I thank God for every day. But, so our propane is working, and it's running the fridge, and that's what it's running. So it's not costing us nearly as much, because we were filling up twice a week. We were going to fill up with propane. The whole winter, when it got cold and I got stuck in the motorhome, we've been filling up twice a week, and that's $50 to $75 twice a week. So if you figure $150, that's $300 a month. We weren't really making any money. We were losing, losing, and that's one of the reasons we left the flea market. Is we just weren't making anything there, and there wasn't enough people coming through that were buying for us to make anything.
The other thing that happened last fall is our leveling jacks quit on us.
Yeah.
Now, we don't know yet what the problem is on that. It may have been that our the battery that starts the engine on that may not have enough power to run the hydraulics for the leveling jacks.
It might be something that simple.
And our battery on the engine itself is shot.
Yeah.
We have to replace that.
It is in dire need of replacing, but we just can't do it, and that's a $300
battery.
Item. So has to put in. Yeah, so we don't have leveling jacks, which means that we're sitting on a hill most of the time and uneven things. Right now we're facing kind of downward toward the front of the motorhome, which is good for sleeping because your head is higher.
That's right. Well, something has to be good on this whole thing.
Yeah.
The other thing, too, is our headlights.
Mm-hmm.
The headlights in the front.
We came home the other night. We could hardly see.
Yeah.
Home. I call it home. I tend to call things home when we've been there more than once.
Yeah.
It's sort of, that's our home point for now. So when we were coming back here.
Our headlights have moisture in them for some reason, whether they're cracked somewhere and the moisture's getting in. But anyway, they need to be replaced. When we came home the other night, it was black. the road was totally black, and we had a tough time driving because everything was black. The lights just did not have enough power to be able to light up the road. And they were clean. I keep them. And I clean the back lights. The only ones I can't get is at the top of the coach, front and back. But they seem to be good. They're clean and everything else. And now they're all washed off. We've gone through this car wash the last few days of rain, and it's working like a charm. Yeah. It's cleaned our solar collectors off, and it's cleaned the roof off, and so we've got no snow upstairs at all.
Yeah, which is good because it means that our solar can at least give our coach batteries a bit of help.
Well, it keeps them charged.
Yeah.
And keeps the charge up high.
And once we got them charged, not staying overnight at that house, it was fantastic, But even though we have our own internet, we can't use it because it takes electricity. We need to be able to have that, so it makes uploading really hard because we have to. Where we are, there's a restaurant and there's a truck stop. And they're joined together inside, but they each have their own internet, so we can actually get on one or the other, depending on which is the best, in order for us to be able to have internet. But it makes it impossible for either of us to be doing any kind of work. Gary can't get any printing done because we cannot stay, we can't turn our engine on long enough for him to be able to print anything because it goes through too much gas. Gas here is, I think today it's like $1.49.9, that's per liter. Multiply $1.50 times 4, $6 a gallon here right now. So it's really difficult because we have to be careful how much we're spending on fuel as well. So we can turn the engine on for an hour or two at a time, but then we have to shut it off. When we had the generator going and everything was running smoothly for us last fall, it was great because we could turn the generator on for 3 hours and it didn't use a huge amount of fuel, and we could run our internet, and therefore we could get online and we could do things. We've set up inside here, right now not, but because we have a lot of things inside here that it was too cold for Gary to be sorting things and putting things underneath and everything. So we're waiting for better weather to be able to do the sorting, but we do have our printers. We've got the 3D printer, we've got the paper printer. In here we've got paper in here and things, but we just can't work because there's no way that we can actually do anything. And finding things right now, for me to find anything that's already printed is really difficult. It's nearly impossible to find anything in this place right now, except whatever's right in front of us. And the last thing I kind of want to touch on is reasons why we need to get back to Alberta, and there's several. Gary needs his knee replacements looked after. We need to find out whether he can have the operation, if his heart's going to be able to take the operation, etc., etc. Because at 82, having an operation is far more dangerous than it is at 32 or 52. I need to see all my specialists to make sure that I'm still on the right meds for one thing, and that things are not getting worse and all of that.
And you need a couple operations.
I need operations on my eyes. When we were leaving last June, I was told, if you want, we can make arrangements. And I said, well, when we come back. We both need to see our family doctors. We've got one. We need to see our family doctor so we can get our meds arranged again. Because we've been away for a long time. We were able to get meds for over the winter. But they're going to want to see us next time, do our blood pressure and all the stuff. Gary's also diabetic, so they got to look at his diabetes and look at his meds and all of that. We need to get home, back to Alberta, home, so that we can establish that we live there, so we can keep the money coming from there. They are a province that does give to seniors. They give a monthly amount. It's not huge, but we each get that, and it amounts to about $300 a month between the two of us.
Can I add something too? That I want you to realize that to drive this motorhome, it costs us $1 a kilometer to drive it.
That's just for fuel.
That's just for fuel itself. And we have 3,000 kilometers to go.
Yes.
That's how much it costs us to come out here.
We have between 3,000 and 3,500 kilometers. If we go to Calgary, it's closer to 3,500 kilometers. And the last reason we need to get there, and we need to do this before July, is because Gary's license, his driver's license, is coming up. And without his driver's license, we're not going anywhere. So we need to get back to Alberta so he can renew his driver's license. Because you can't renew an Alberta driver's license in Ontario, no matter who you are. You just can't. He's got a test he has to go through because he's over 80, and we need he needs to have that done. So we've got multi reasons why we need to get back to Alberta. We're also thinking that once we get there, we're going to start looking at markets, and maybe we'll be able to start selling some of our stuff in some of the markets, farmers markets, craft markets, whatever markets we can find, not flea markets. We're going to try and not do flea markets unless we get our stuff out of storage, which will be there. We'll be able to do that maybe. If we can get our stuff out of storage, we've got lots of things in there that we can sell at flea markets. We've got books, we've got all sorts of things. So used appliances, stuff. We've got stuff. And we could sell it, and we could probably make at least a few $100s, if not a few thousand. But we need your help to get where we're going. So we've set up a Ko-fi, and the link will be down in the description area, and click on the more, and it'll be there, or it'll be right at the top, because I want to put it right at the top. It'll be right at the top of every one of our things. So if you click on that, you feel that you can give a few dollars. I mean, $1 helps, honestly. So if you go over there and you say, yeah, I'm going to help these people, I can't begin to thank you enough.
That's right.
Because we're very independent people. This is hard for us. But we have had to face the fact that we can't do this alone anymore. And if you can help, we're just more than grateful. So I think that's all we kind of wanted to say. And we don't like begging, but we're asking.
Yeah, so we're asking for help. We need it at this point.
Yeah, because at this point we can't stay warm, we can't cook properly, we can't live even reasonably, and we sure as heck can't get back to Alberta. So we need things fixed before we can even start. So if you can help, thank you. And we'll stop this now and just say thank you for anything you can do. Bye for now.
Bye.